What is up, math superstars? In this edition of Mr. Peterson Presents, we are bringing you all the goodness about translating expressions and equations. And so what you're going to do is you're going to see some kind of statements, phrase, or sentence, and you're going to have to write it using numbers. And so to translate statements into expressions or equations, it's important that you're identifying keywords that are going to indicate what operation or operations to use. And then you're going to write the number or the variables in the correct order. And so the variables, all they're going to be are the places where the numbers can go, and we're going to use letters for that. And so way back in elementary school, you might have used stars or smiley faces for the variable. In this case, since now we're upgraded to middle school, we're getting ever so close to algebra, you're going to start using letters for the variables. And so in these keywords here, if we're going to talk about the sum of, if we say the sum of 5 and 8, we know that we're going to be talking about addition. So I'm going to put 5 and 8 with an addition sign. For the difference of, so we have a phrase, the difference of n, so we have n as a variable, and 3. So we can write that as n minus 3. The product of 4 and b, you guessed it. Oh wait, there's no multiplication sign. And so since we're delving into pre-algebra skills, we are now going to combine 4 and b together here. And so we know that if there's no sign in between, it is multiplication. And the quotient of 8 and x. Whoa, it looks like a fraction. So we're going to start using the fraction bar for division. And so instead of using the division symbol, we're going to set things up as fractions. And so again, the quotient of 8 and x is 8 over x. So some more keywords. These are some special keywords. We have less than. So if we had the phrase 6 less than p, what we're going to do is we are going to flip-flop the order here. So we're going to flip-flop the order of 6 and p. So when we write it, it turns into 6 minus p. And the same thing with more than. What we're going to do is we're going to flip-flop the order. When we see less than or more than, we need to switch the order. And so for 8 more than x, we can write that as x plus 8. And for these, for less than and more than, so these are the two, you want to put a star next to these. This is when you're going to go ahead and switch the order of the terms. So in these keywords, is, equals, or equal to, we're dealing with equations. So just like we had in our keywords for adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, if you see an is, anytime you see that is, that's where you put the equal sign. And so you have other keywords, twice and double. So if I say twice a number, we can write that as 2, and I'm going to use y as my variable. So I know that I'm going to be multiplying y by 2. And then you have half a number. So I'm going to use my variable as y, and I'm going to use the fraction bar instead of my division sign. And so here we have a lot of different information here. And so if we take a look at different addition phrases, so you can see we have all kinds of addition phrases. These are all ways to write the same thing, x plus 8. So what you do is you can pause, go to read through those on your own. You have subtraction phrases next. So in subtraction phrases, these 1, 2, 3, 4 ways is actually the same way to, if we're going to write r minus 6. And for multiplication, you guessed it, we've seen our familiar ways to write it without the multiplication sign. So we have twice a number, or the product of 2 and n. We write that as 2n because we know that in between the 2 and the n, there should be a multiplication sign. And last but not least, we had division phrases here. All those are ways that we can write z over 3 using our fraction bar. And so that kind of recap. And so let's talk about how we deal with two-step equations here. And so for two-step equations, sometimes we have to use parentheses to kind of group some different things here. And so we have two examples here that we don't need to group, But if you realize you're like, you know what, it makes more sense, I have to do some things first before I keep moving on, that we're going to use the parentheses. And so for the first one, we have 6 less than twice a number is 4. And so the way we're going to break this down, I'm going to figure out if this has an equal sign, and it does. This word is the equal sign. So I know that this is equal to 4. So I got that phrase, that little part down. The next part I'm figuring out, I have this whole section to deal with. I see the phrase less than. That's going to tell me I'm going to be switching the terms. So twice a number minus 6. And so I have minus 6. And then I have to do the twice a number. So twice a number, let's do 2x. So I have 2x minus 6 is 6 less than twice a number is equal to 4. So what about the difference of 9 in the quotient of s and negative 4? So the difference of 9, so I have 9, and the difference means subtraction. And then I have the quotient of s and negative 4. So I can put s on the top and negative 4 on the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this with parentheses because I know I'm going to do that division first. It also makes it kind of easier to look at as well.